Okay, we're going to try again.
Okay.
And we do have a quorum, so we're ready to proceed. And as I noted before, all the observers, if you would just please listen and not speak, and if you'll mute your phone, if you could do such a thing. And
118 million people here, and everybody would have carried gallons of water to South Carolina and dump it on it?
What are we hearing again?
Each person would come to that area and dump it on it to get that amount of rain.
All right. If you will, we have gone through the roll call and the quorum. The minutes of the September 2nd meeting were transmitted to all of the members of the board, and there have been no corrections or additions, so they will stand as distributed. Okay. Kimberly, do you have anything to note on the treasurer's report?
No, ma'am, I do not. Bennett didn't share anything with me on that.
Great. So we have the financial report, which is supporting documents A1, and so unless there are any additions or corrections, and Bennett unfortunately cannot be with us today to answer any questions that you might have, but things seem to be in order. Any comment on that? Otherwise, we will accept these for audit.
If you do have any questions, Bennett will be in Boston.
All righty. That is excellent. All right, now we're ready to proceed to item 4, which is receipt of the nominating committee report. And I'm going to give you the background information. We thank Walt Boyer for stepping forward to guide the nominating committee in light of Pete Straub's current health challenges. Walt has been in touch with state presidents and with other associations that they lead. This has brought forward a number of very impressive candidates to fill the vacancies on the board. Article 7 of our bylaws, with Section 1, provides in part, the president shall, with a majority approval from the council members, appoint individual members to fill the unexpired term of a director unable to fulfill his or her term. Thus, it has been my responsibility as interim president to review the qualifications of the people that were brought forward by the nominating committee. This has not been an easy task, since we are all blessed with so many very capable people who are committed to all that NaCCRA seeks to achieve. There are many opportunities for service within NaCCRA for those who are not board members, and we hope that others who aspire to service will volunteer for committees for which their experience and expertise is particularly relevant. And I'm thinking, as I'm speaking to the work of the Financial Fairness Committee and all that the work that has been done. So we really appreciate everybody's expertise. As I reviewed these, there were 3 standout people who, particularly for their merit and for their past work, which has helped to develop NaCCRA's mission. After a lot of deliberation and pursuant to my responsibility as interim president, I am now appointing Bob Nagel from the state of Connecticut, Stamford, Connecticut, Jack Cumming from the state of California, Carlsbad by the Sea, and Jack Snyder of the state of Illinois to fill the unexpired terms within the board. Mr. Nagel is a business entrepreneur with extensive experience who was instrumental in the ownership change at the CCRC where he lives in Connecticut. Also very noteworthy, it was Bob's work who was able to have CCRCs not counted in the bed tax in Connecticut, which was a great and major coup, and we appreciate that so much. Jack Snyder is a well-established business executive who was instrumental in the establishment of the Illinois Continuing Care Residents Association, and we so appreciate all of his work. And then Jack Cumming is a certified aging services professional by having had the examination, and it is very much a part of NaCCRA, and particularly NaCCRA U website, which spearheads NaCCRA's educational efforts. Accordingly, as interim president and chair of this meeting, I move the acceptance of these three stellar board candidates by the board to take office immediately and to serve the unexpired terms of the directors that they are succeeding. So this would be Bob Nagel, Jack Schneider, and Jack Cumming.
I'll second that motion, Ruth.
Thank you very much.
I think for the record that I should make the motion, that President shouldn't make the motion, so the record shows the mover.
It's our bylaws. It
okay.
It notes that I can do what I just
okay,
did.
do it. We have some people who are concerned about Robert's rules, and
it is in our bylaws, and
all right.
That's what we're going to abide by.
Let's do it. I just have this anxiety.
Don't be anxious. It's
Thank you.
Oh. So with that in mind, we have declared that we have three new members of the board. These three people are filling the unexpired terms of three directors who resigned in September. And now we still have two vacancies to fill, which
Can we call for the question on the motion?
We're going to vote on it?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
And there's nobody opposed, I hope. All right, so we're all indebted to Walt Boyer and his nominating committee for their effort to bring forward very quickly, in response to this transition crisis, these three outstanding members who will lead NaCCRA to continue strong in the new era of achievement. Walt and his nominating committee will remain active in anticipation of electing these other two directors to bring to the board to a full complement of 11 people, and we will do that. All right. We will bring this to the board for a full complement of 11 people when we meet in Boston. We hope for representation from the state of Florida, which has some 13,000 members in its state residents association called FLICRA, which is the state with the largest number of CCRC residents. And we do have on our roster these people who have indicated that they would accept that position. Julia Hicks from Pennsylvania, you still there? Yep. Connie Michelli. Charlie Polk, who is from Florida. William Root, who is from Maryland. So those
Michigan.
are the ones.
Oh, well, Bill Root is no longer in Maryland.
Pardon?
He's in Michigan.
Oh, he is. How about that?
Yeah.
Okay, so those other people are still in contention, and they will be considered at our meeting at the end of this month in Boston. So, and we all are, again, indebted to Walt with all of that he has had on his plate. We just so appreciate that hard work. Also, Peter, who has worked with Walt, so we're very grateful. So with that said and done, we are ready to proceed to the membership categories and dues, and that's item 6. And wait, that's item.
Madam President, this is Kim. If I may interrupt for just a second. I have been on the phone with the company that handles our conference calling, and they are getting on to see what the problem is. They're going to try not to disturb the call, but they're going to try to find the problem.
Alrighty.
Because we are still having feedback.
Are you really?
I'm echoing myself.
Oh, my gosh. Alrighty. Okay, we did get information from Gerard Highland, who also tendered his resignation from the Financial Soundness Committee. And so at the outside, he has tendered his resignation, which we accepted with great sorrow and sadness, and you've been so good, and all the things that have been happening. So we are very hopeful that we will continue once the new president is elected and things get back to a little bit whatever normal is, that we will then select another financial fairness committee. And Gerard, would you even consider coming back onto that committee?
This is Gerard Highland speaking.
Yes.
I'm finishing up a report, and I will stay with the effort until all the work is done, all the work is reported that we have done. I'd be willing to stay on it to maintain continuity, yes. But I certainly want to reduce my time and effort that has been going into this.
Right. I know it's been very difficult.
And this is a good point of, and I'm sorry for the background noise. There's somebody mowing the lawn outside the building. This is a good point of departure because we are reporting out the work that we've been doing over the past year. And so the new person coming in would be picking up from there and going forward from that point.
Yeah, I know that you've had a very, very busy time of it, and everybody's been very work-oriented, and very thoughtful. So if you would continue until we get things squared away by the end, but continue to stay on for continuity until we get this all squared away.
Yes, I will do that.
We appreciate that very, very much. Okay, let us proceed. And I don't know whether you got any information on memberships and dues. Kat, did you? Anybody? All right. So what I am going to ask, just as a prelude, controversy has arisen among the states whether state and community dues support or retard membership development and NaCCRA's mission. According to Article 8, Section 1 of our bylaws, I appoint Bob Nicholson, Jack Cumming, and Bennett Napier as a 3-person ad hoc committee under Bob's chairmanship to review the current dues structure and to present the committee's recommendation to the board when we meet on the 31st of October in Boston. So, Bob, do you have anything to say before we put a motion on the floor?
Well, just to say that I'm not zealous to be the chairman of a committee like that, but I can tell you from the work I've done in membership that we have a hybrid of understandings of what membership and dues is all about. And because we have different patterns, and particularly we now have 44% of our members of NaCCRA are in states without state associations, and several are startups like Illinois and Washington, that we need to look seriously at how we give incentives, foster membership growth, and build better partnerships with these new NaCCRA startup units. And so that's what's behind this. The good news is that for the last 7 quarters, if you go back to January 1 of last year through the end of September last month, we've had a 68% growth in our NaCCRA membership. So we have the problem, a great problem of membership growth and the need to tailor a plan of membership development and dues and structure that continues that growth.
Well, it sounds like a monumental task, but also one that's very, very needed. And this is the motion that I would propose to us to consider, that the board would affirm the appointment of my appointment of a temporary membership review committee under the chairmanship of Bob Nicholson, supported by Jack Cumming and Bennett Napier, so that we can get our ducks in a row and get ourselves in a good situation for improving and increasing our membership. Is there a second to that?
I'll second that motion, Ruth.
All right, it's seconded by
Jean
Hurley. Any discussion? Then all in favor of that motion to have a temporary membership review committee under the chairmanship of Bob, Jack, and Bennett?
Aye.
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 and acclamation. Thank you so much. And anything more you want to add to that, Bob, before we move forward?
No, I think that's fine.
Oh, how are you, Bob? From Florida. Yeah. All righty. So we're under item 7, which is bylaws review. We're in a bit of a dilemma because of the bylaws committee was meeting, and Judy Moss from California was chair of that. And when it met in Springfield, Virginia in March, when Dan, Pete Straub, Jack Cumming, and Bob Nicholson were also in attendance, the committee made pretty good progress and it is now desirable that their work be completed. So accordingly, I have asked that same group who began the bylaws review to continue their work in conjunction with our bylaws, with our Boston meeting, either with Judy Moss has resigned that position, so we will have to have a temporary chairman pro tem, so we could need to review these bylaws. There's work that has been underway, so I would very much like to complete this work. Since it does not represent a change, this is merely a reporting item, and no motion is required, but there will be a bylaws committee meeting. I think it's at 10 o'clock on Saturday from 10 to 12.
It's going to be moved up till 9 a.m., so we can be finished by the President's Luncheon at 11:30, and will likely be in the same room as the President's Luncheon.
Okay, so there will be a bylaws committee meeting at that time. And do we have a room for that, Bob, yet?
Yeah, I think what we're going to do is piggyback. We've gotten an arrangement where Leading Age has provided us with a room for the President's Luncheon, which will be in the same room as the NaCCRA board, so people don't have to spend time going back and forth from building to building.
Okay.
So I think we can just have the bylaws committee meet in the same room at 9 a.m.
Okay. All right, so we're in pretty good shape there, and my item 8, which we've already covered with Gerald's saying that he would continue on, and we did receive his report as chairman of the Financial Soundness Committee, and so we're hoping that, and we're thankful that you're going to continue on just a little bit longer till we can get that all squared away, Gerald, and thank you. So, is there anything at this point, or are you all breathless? Oh, God. All right. So we will proceed then to the Bill of Rights Committee. I just have to add a little bit that the state of Connecticut was very delighted to have our Residents' Bill of Rights for the state of Connecticut passed on September the 14th. And I'm going to get for you a synopsis of that, which I will either send to you or have it available when we meet in Boston, so you can see the meat of that. It was very much of a participatory thing with utilizing the advisory committee, which included people from Leading Age as well as those of us in for-profit, and it just worked out so beautifully. So I just would like you to see that and to know that it worked so beautifully. And,
before you leave that commendation to Connecticut, I would like to specifically recommend that you make 100 copies of your report, so we'll have enough for the presidents, for the NaCCRA board, and for each table in the NaCCRA meeting at 9:30 on Sunday, November 1, so everybody can see it.
Okay, I will do that. So 100 copies. Okay, and we will do that. Well, speaking of copies of what have you, we are assembling a bevy of documents to present to people so that you will have copies of that. And I know a lot of people like to have theirs on the computers, but then there are those of us who are still paper bound. So we'll work it out so that we can do that and have some of this very important documentation for you to be able to see. One of the things that Dan had worked on was the fact that he was chairman of the Bill of Rights Committee for NaCCRA, and for now I'm assuming that position that chairmanship is open. And as with the Financial Soundness Committee, I'm going to appoint a replacement chair for that committee when it's appropriate to do that, and we'll probably do that in Boston. So put your thinking caps on as to people who might well serve on that committee as well, the Bill of Rights Committee. And I know that there was the information in one of the our newspaper. And
Lifeline.
Thank you, Jean. In the Lifeline, and as far as we could determine, that was never approved. We went back and tried to look in the minutes to see if there was any approval ever noted, and it was not. So we're going to take a look at that once more at our meeting in Boston, and take a look and see what more needs to be done and what we need to do. So, and appoint a chair for that. So that's in the docket for the coming meeting at the end of this month. Anything on that? So we now have a proposal from Partners in Association Management. We have used the administrative and consulting services of Partners, and that's Bennett's shop down in Tallahassee, since 2011 under an agreement entered with them. Partners has supported NaCCRA's growth by charging less than the cost of the services provided. And Kimberly, who's on the phone or on this line right now, is an employee of Bennett's, and they have been traditionally so supportive of us and for us. And one of the members of Bennett's team is also someone who I work with as past president, and so that all people who become life members of NaCCRA get a letter and a brochure and what have you, welcoming them as life members. So, they have just been so cooperative with us, and so we're just trying to work out some way to continue that. We've been working for NaCCRA to become self-sufficient, and Partners has submitted a revised proposal, a supporting document, which you would find. Did you all get supporting documents in your handouts?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So this would be supporting document D in your packet, and it outlines the services they propose for NaCCRA's board's consideration and what they would charge for those services. So, assuming and praying that you have read them, I would honor a motion after discussion. Is there any discussion?
Let's have a motion. I'd like to move that we accept the agreement and thank Partners for the modest proposal that is, in industry standards, very, very, very economical.
Oh, thank you. Is there a second to that?
Speaking for the record. Who's that?
Nicholson, Bob Nicholson.
Bob. Thanks, Bob.
Bob Nicholson. Is there a second to that? I'm waiting for a second.
I'll second the
Thank
motion.
you, Jean. Is there any discussion? All that this would do would be to direct me to enter into the contract included in the proposal, which you have on supporting document D, and then work with Bennett's office to make it all happen. So,
Madam President, this
yes.
is Kim. I can excuse myself if you all want to have discussion.
No, I think you're fine.
I'll stay there.
Okay.
Is there any other further discussion? Then all in favor?
Well, this is Bob Nicholson. This is Bob Nicholson, and I wrote the board and said, if you were to go in one of your downtown churches and ask someone to be employed to take care of all the membership and the finances and the renewals and the pledges and produce the monthly newsletter and mail it,
yeah, I know.
you would be hard-pressed to find somebody to do that at this reasonable price.
Exactly.
So I just, based on my experience of having hired people to do these kinds of things, I want to say this is well within the ballpark, and not only is it in the ballpark, but it is their services are provided generously and in such a timely manner. There's from a membership point of view, I would not be able to do my job without the support that Will Leslie.
Bill.
So, in other words, I'm just saying that it's a reasonable thing for the services, and they do it very well.
And I could second that. They have just been so gracious and so helpful to us. So we appreciate that. And all in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 And no dissents. So that was unanimous.
Well, thank you for the kind words. We appreciate it, and we enjoy working with you all as well.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't know what we'd do without you. So it's just very, very, very great for all. And so appreciate that. Now, Bob, when things began to happen, we put Bob kind of in charge of what's going to happen for the conference, our meeting, our NaCCRA meeting in Boston, as well as part of the action having to do with leading age and what have you. And before we do that, I just want to tell you again that I did on the September the 9th, 2015, I did sign with Leading Age the relationship agreement between Leading Age and the National Continuing Care Association. And it has been in the new coming up by Lifeline that Jean has worked so hard to get out for us. There is an article by Bennett that is so superior that tells what it is that we are doing with this agreement. And I'd just like to point out real quickly that NaCCRA is and will remain its own entity with its own membership and its own governance structure. This agreement in no way means that NaCCRA and Leading Age will agree on every issue. But it does mean that both parties will have the formal protocol to follow to discuss differences of opinion. Both organizations hope to reach constructive solutions that impact both residents and providers. And without any verbal fisticuffs, we're hoping to be able to accomplish this with ease. NaCCRA will have the ability to have a voting member on the Leading Age Board of Directors, as well as the opportunity to participate in public policy discussions on Leading Age committees and task forces. And if you remember, Marlene Varner was very much a very important part of a Leading Age committee and was very vital, and she was also press representation. So, it's a workable possibility. And interesting as we go through this agreement that it doesn't ever say we will or we must. It says we may. So on the next one, Leading Age may send a representative to NaCCRA meetings to share information and provide insight on public policy issues and CCRC market trends. Such representation would not have a vote on NaCCRA operations. Now, this is not mandated, but it's a possibility if we consider that that's what we want to do. And then outside of public policy matters, having an open and collaborative relationship with Leading Age should foster the ability of us to grow locally as more CCRC executive directors and CEOs have a clearer vision and a better understanding of what we're all about and what NaCCRA stands for and what a value a strong residents organization can offer to the preservation of the CCRC lifestyle. So, we really are very excited at this possibility, and it was my pleasure and my honor to sign that agreement. And that agreement, as I said, was signed on the 9th of September 2015, and we reap many, many benefits from this, and we will continue to do that. And we're very hopeful that Larry Minix and Steve Magg, who are very great members of Leading Age, will greet us all at the meeting and talk a little bit about what the plans are for the future. Larry is about to resign or to retire after many years of hard work. So we're all looking forward to meeting the new director, but with great thanks to Larry, who's made a lot of this happen. So I just wanted to let you know about some of those things that are really exciting for are coming up on plans for Boston. And Bob Nicholson, as I said, has been working his whole self to a frazzle. And so, Bob, would you just tell us and walk us through what's going to happen?
You have the documents, and I don't need to go into detail, but just to tell you that for the Sunday morning, we have a very tight, full, uplifting, positive agenda that will include a good panel that Dan Seeger was putting together, and it fell to me to complete that work. That's going to happen. We are going to have Steve Magg present and make a 10-minute presentation on trends of new residents coming into CCRCs, and we have confirmed that Larry Minix will be there in the first quarter hour to bring greetings to the group. Also, we have confirmed that the state president's lunch, which I had set up at an independent restaurant on the wharf, is now going to be in the hotel in the same meeting room as the NaCCRA board and Leading Age. I've worked with Sharon Sullivan when I asked her, how can I get an inexpensive Bach lunch brought in? She said, don't worry about it, I'll take care of the lunch. So our budget is saved a lunch tab for the President's Luncheon, and we have every state represented at the President's Luncheon, a majority by the President themselves, and in 2 cases where the President can't be there, someone is standing in for the President, Julia from Pennsylvania, Jean from Virginia, and Bennett from Florida. So it's a promising first ever state President's Lunch. The panel is in the walkthrough, and there's more description there of who the panelists are. And then we have put together 350 copies of a single colorful sheet that welcomes people to Boston, invites them to visit the NaCCRA booth 551 and to enroll and become a part of the network of residents in NaCCRA. And we're going to put those out at the Residence Lounge, which is new this year.
Where is it going to be?
Where it's going to be near the meeting. It's going to be near the big hall,
okay.
And in the President's Luncheon, and in the NaCCRA meeting, and in the Leading Age Resident Luncheon, and at our booth. So it will serve 4 different purposes, and a copy of that is there for you. So that's the report on Boston.
And it sounds very exciting. And if you haven't registered, please do. Please remember also that it doesn't cost you a nickel, other than where you're going to stay. Put your little head over the overnight, but everything else is provided by Leading Age, including the luncheons during the meeting, 3 days of meetings, and at that time you will also have the opportunity to not only to visit our booth 551, but also many exhibitors who have all kinds of wonderful, innovative kinds of things for residents, as well as all kinds of goodies to pick up, every pen you ever wanted in your life, and little pads and this kind of thing. So it's a lot of interesting people, a lot of wonderful ways to meet people. And the reason we started years ago to do this was so that people would find out who we are. Every time we said we were from NaCCRA, they said, what is that? So we did, courtesy of Leading Age, have a booth. And it's our privilege to man that booth. And, Julia, I hope you'll work, if you're going to come, if you'll help work that booth this time.
Yes, please, put me down.
Ruth, I'd like to add that this meeting in Boston is historic in terms of NaCCRA in 3 special ways. The first way is that for the first time that I know of, the publication of Lifeline for November and December will be printed, and we will distribute it in all 4 event settings. That is, the President's Luncheon, the NaCCRA meeting, the Resident Lounge, and at the booth, and at the Leading Age Resident Luncheon, and at our booth. Secondly, it's the first year that we've had a Resident Lounge where we can lay NaCCRA material out, but especially the NaCCRA Lifeline. And the third is it's the first time we've been able to put together a President's Luncheon to build and strengthen ties with our state associations.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that's important.
And the wonderful thing you'll see if you have never been before is that there are no strangers at this meeting. And these meetings, it is just such a bonding of great people, and with all kinds of things out for the betterment of people in continuing care residence groups, as well as people in senior housing and hospitalizations and everything. It's just an eye-opener that's very heartwarming. So anything more, Bob, you want to?
No, that's fine. I'm finished.
Okay. Well, we really are. Anybody I know from the visitors gallery, do you have any questions that you would like to ask, or are you? I hope you're going to be coming to the meeting. So everybody, okay. We will look forward to seeing everybody, but I just wanted to just add the fact that we are looking forward with confidence. You know, we've had quite a jolt, and it's been very difficult on the one hand, and yet it's been very heartwarming on the other, because we all have been working very hard together to make everything come back to so that we are really beginning to enter a new era in which providers, through their association Leading Age, have committed to work with us. Our perspective as residents and payers will not always be the same as that of the provider and their careerists. Still, there are many areas of commonality, and we look forward to engaging with the providers vigorously and independently to improve circumstances for residents and other receivers of senior care services, and to help the industry to open up perspective to the opportunities presented by the future of aging in America. You know, it's very great now with so many CCRCs having wellness models, and so we are not only well physically, mentally, but spiritually, and it all works together. And learn by little, we're going to get those balancing, so we don't have to use canes, and we're not going to have to worry about a lot of stuff if we just work at keeping healthy and keeping ourselves in good shape. Bennett has provided us with a proposed plan of action, and that's in supporting document E. And we are preparing a list of possible advocacy actions for you to consider. We'll be asking you to review the list and prioritizing some of the possibilities in advance of the Boston meeting. That way we can identify the high priority items and make the best use of very limited resources that we have at our disposal. You know, we are not independently wealthy, so we really depend on a lot of wonderful volunteers to help us, and you all have done just that. And so we're working little by little. We're going to make this happen. Your prioritization of these items will determine how we approach our new relationship with Leading Age and what we propose to the providers as potential joint projects for the near term. Please expect to receive that list within the next week or so, and plan to give it your immediate attention so that we can make the most of our short time together in Boston. We have come together through a very difficult time in our history, but the outcome is positive, and I have such good vibes as we proceed. We're now poised for action. Let's make the most of it and keep smiling in the process. Is there anything anyone would like from the gallery or from any of our members?
I have a postscript, Bob Nicholson here, to say how much I think all the board members have appreciated the care with which you prepared for the meeting and led us through a very full agenda in a timely fashion. So thank you very much, Ruth, for all the energy that you put into this to making it an effective gathering.
Amen to that.
I thank you for that, and it's been a challenge. You know, as you'll read in the new Leading Age, I've taken on other responsibilities, like the chairmanship of the Stone Ridge Residents Association. Said each one goes hand in hand, and it's really it's just been a very great opportunity to see us all working in action, and I really appreciate that, and I appreciate your votes of confidence. So if there is nothing else, Kimberly, anything to add?
No, ma'am, I don't. That was a very fast and very efficient meeting.
Thank you.
Is Bill Ratcliffe taking the? Is he here? Is he doing the minutes?
Bill is here.
Ratcliffe is here, busily scribbling notes to himself.
Okay, glad to hear that.
So, any need
the normal practice in the recent past, while I've been involved, is that to use the actual wording provided in the agenda to form the basis of the minutes,
Yes.
The minutes are really quite stark in that they only record, they don't record any discussions, only record the
action,
the votes, and should there be any specific action.
Yeah.
And without naming or voters, and without listing numbers for and against, which is academic this time because there weren't any.
Well, that's something we can discuss when we meet in Boston. We'll figure that out.
Starting with the agenda, I can edit that on my computer this afternoon, and I'll get a first draft to you certainly by the end of tomorrow.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
And
Thank you, Bill.
The routine before was send my first draft to the president. After he's cast an eye over it, it's distributed to the rest of the board.
Okay.
Quite when it should be put up on the website, when should we wait until it's approved at the next board meeting, or should it go up as a draft version and not approved version? Those things we need to have an email to and fro just to.
Okay, we will do
clarify.
that. And we'll take a look at the draft and then see how best to proceed.
Yep. Okay.
But I thank you all, and I thank the observers for coming too. And I know there's some of you all who have indicated you would be interested in joining the committee and the board. So we will do that. And I hope we didn't confuse you, Bob Nagel, and everybody. Everything it all works so beautifully together. It really does, and it's great teamwork. So I thank you all.
Okay.
And it's now 1:53, and we did this even with the static that we had initially. So, thank you. And Peter,
okay.
Is Peter doing all right? Peter Straub, you doing okay? Is he? Thank you so much, and so we'll talk to you, and we'll see.
Barbara Trout.